morning, afternoon, evening, or whenever it may be that you are watching this. Hope everybody's having a lovely time. So, today, the City of Charlottetown asked us to put on an art party event and a recording and make some art party kits and a few other things of a tree that fell down during Hurricane Fiona. That was a rough couple of days for sure. So we totally jumped on board, and here we are. Now you might be watching this on YouTube or on Facebook. I'm not sure exactly where you are watching from. We're going to be posting it to a few different spots, and it will be left up for a while. So, nice and simple. We got our 5 colors: yellow, red, black, white, and of course, in petit peu de le bleu. It's a little bit of the blue. I've got a lot here. We're not going to need all of that, unless you have like a really big canvas, or maybe you've got an 8x10 like I do. You should have at least 2 brushes, okay? At least 2 when you're doing an 8x10. There should be like a medium one, which is about that size, and just a little tiny guy. That's it, at least 2. Sometimes we paint with 3. This is a large one. It's just a little bit bigger. If you have a large one, cool. If you don't, that's okay. You only really need 2. That's it. But to start this painting off, we are going to paint the background. And we are going to start that by making one of my favorite colors, which is dirty blue. So if you have somewhere to mix, a mixing plate or a little palette or something, you're going to need that so that we can make this color. We're going to have to make a couple of colors today. So when I'm making dirty blue, I am going to keep it just to the side of my plate. I'm not going to take up the whole thing, okay? Dirty blue is a nice, easy color to make. What we have here is phthalo blue, and if you have one of the kits from the City of Charlottetown that I put together, you'll have phthalo blue. If you don't have phthalo blue, that's okay. You can still make dirty blue. It's just the ratio is going to be a little different. But with phthalo blue, the ratio is medium brush. We're going to take 1, 2, 3 big old scoops of bleu. And then 1 scoop of white. And then half a scoop of black. Now, like I said, if you're using a different blue, ultramarine blue, sky blue, all of that, the ratio might be a little different. You might have to have more blue and less black. But you can kind of play with that until you're happy with it. This might need just a tiny little touch more of un petit peu de le bleu, which is a little bit of the blue. There. Now we got ourselves a nice dirty blue. I love this color. I love using this color. It's wonderful. This color is very versatile. You can change it. You can add in, like if you add in a little bit of yellow and white to this, it turns like a really, really nice teal kind of color. So it's a super, super fun color to play with. There we go. We've got dirty blue. Now you're going to be using that medium brush, or like I said, if you have a large brush, we can use that. Either one, it's going to be perfectly fine. And I'm going to explain what we're going to do before we do it. So with the medium or large, or whatever your biggest brush is, we are going to start off with a little bit of white. And we are going to put white. So our center's down here. We are going to put white just going up a little bit. And then kind of coming out in a little star kind of thing, right from this bottom middle part. All right, I haven't started yet, just explaining. We're going to put a little bit of white on there so that a paint is wet. Not very much, just quickly put some on. Then, with the same brush, I'm not going to clean it. I'm going to take some of my dirty blue, and I'm going to start bringing that from the edges of my canvas, always going towards this center point. We can use some of our dirty blue and some white, and we just get this nice streaky background, but our brush strokes always go back to this point. Okay? So let's start that off right meow with white. And we'll put a little bit going up, put a little bit going out from either side. Okay. Nice and simple. Still with white on my brush, let's grab a little bit of dirty blue and let's start kind of bringing that into that point. Now I don't have very much on my brush. You don't need big clumps of paint, just little bits. Now we can start working it back and forth. Pick up a little bit more dirty blue if we need it. You can see how our brush strokes always go back to this point. We're going to do our whole canvas like this, including the edges. You want to paint the edges of your canvas. I'm notoriously bad for painting the edges of my canvases. If you've ever done an event with me, or an online one, or if you're in the subscribers group, or anything like that, you guys know I'm bad for it. But you should definitely paint the edges of your canvas. Because you're going to hang it up on your walls, right? You're going to show it off. You're going to become famous from painting, and you're going to have those edges painted. That's the rules. Unless you frame it. You can always frame them. That's an option too. Yeah. It's just little bits back and forth. White, dirty blue. Really spreading it out so that there's no clumps of paint. Because we do want this to dry. So no clumps of paint. It's nice and streaky, see? Make sure all my paint is spread out. And there we go. Lovely little background. They are going to be different every time you do it. Okay, it's not going to be the same every single time. Same with me. Every time you blend a background like this, it's going to turn out a little different. And that's okay. That's the beauty of art. So let me just clean off that brush. And then we do need this to dry. So I will put some text up on screen that just says drying break. And I'm going to wait about 2 to 3 minutes. That way also if you guys take your time with this. I know at times I can paint a little bit quick. So I'm not expecting you guys to go at the exact same time as me. With my in-person events, I like to do the background, then I can move away and I can wander around and help people. I can show you different stuff if anybody's looking for tips. But with the online, I will take a drying break just to let everybody kind of get caught up. And then at the same time, if when we come back from a drying break, if you're not done yet, that's okay. You can just hit the pause button and go at your own leisure. So let's take a little 2-minute break here, and then I'll be back. Okay, it's been a couple minutes, so if yours isn't dry yet, just go ahead, hit the pause button. You can fan it dry. If you have a blow dryer, that makes it dry real quick. But yeah, go ahead and hit that pause button now. Okay, so next up, we have to make some brown. Now, the easiest way to make brown is to buy it. The second easiest way is what we're going to do here. So again, the ratio with brown does vary depending on the blue that you use. So again, if you're using an ultramarine blue or a sky blue, it's going to take some more. With phthalo blue, it takes very, very little bits. So with our medium brush, nice and clean, we are going to start off with 2 scoops of yellow, 2 scoops of red, and then a pinprick. Just a little, like a quarter scoop, just a little tiny bit of blue. And we're going to start stirring that together. Because you can always add more blue, but it is hard to take it away. So as we're stirring this is looking a little bit reddish and orange, which means we need to add in a little bit more blue. Small amounts. We make sure we stir it all before we add more. If your color turns green, which is the most common, that means that you added too much blue. And to fix that, you need to add in red. This is still looking orangey, which means I add in a little bit more blue. In petit peu de le bleu. These small amounts at a time. Rarely, it will happen that your paint will turn kind of purple. Now, if that happens, it means you got to correct it with yellow. But brown can be a tricky one to make, so take your time, small tweaks, till we get a brown that you're happy with. Having it a little bit on the reddish side is okay. It'll work well for the tree. I think that's pretty good. Nice. So once again, the ratio for brown is equal parts yellow and red with tiny bits of blue at a time. Regardless of the blue that you're using, just add little bits at a time and then just keep adding more, right? Small bits at a time, make sure it's all stirred up. If it looks green, means you need red. If it looks orange, means you need blue. And if it looks purple, means you need yellow. All right? Good stuff. So I am going to start with a little tiny brush. And we are going to start our tree. Now when we start our tree with our little tiny brush, I'm going to give you a couple of tips here. You hold your paintbrush close to the bristles. Okay, see it's got a piece of metal on there. Let's hold it right down there. Because you have more control over it that way, rather than holding it back here. Okay, hold it nice and close. And the lighter you press, the skinnier your lines will be. So go slowly, take your time. We're going to start this tree off with just 3 lines. They're going to be skinny, but we're going to widen them up after. And these 3 lines are what make it into the picture of the tree that they sent me. So let's, right from that middle area, there's one. Let's take one out this way, and then one out that way. That's it. That's the start of the tree. Nice and simple. Now we need to widen these up before we put little branches on. So to widen these up, whenever you're painting a tree, the ends of the branch so where it would end up here, is always the skinniest part. And I don't know why my music just turned off, but it did. I'll fix that in a minute. So the ends of the branch are always the skinniest. And then as it gets back to the trunk, it just gradually gets wider and wider. So let's leave the end of that skinny. And then slowly start widening it up as it gets back to where our trunk is. And same with this one. Now we can change the shape of these more, but let's just get this started. Nice and simple. Oh, it's too quiet here without music on. All right, good start. Can already tell some of these, like, they need to be a bit wider. But it's always better to go a little bit smaller first off, because you can always just keep adding and keep making them wider till you get them the way you want them. Happy little tree. Happy thoughts, happy tree. Those are the rules. Not too bad. Okay. And then I'm going to start adding on more branches. And these ones we're going to do the same way, where we start them with just a little line and then we can widen them up. I should just start singing. No, actually, that would not be good. Everybody would leave the video. I don't have the best singing voice. Don't get me wrong, I still sing. Oh yeah, even with a bad singing voice, I will karaoke anytime. But I don't want to scare you guys all off. All right, see, we're just adding in some more branches. Happy little tree. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Now, trees do take practice, so don't be too hard on yourself. But remember, trees don't grow straight. They grow whoever makes them happy. So as long as we have kind of these three in the middle, that's kind of the main thing on this tree. And then the rest of them will be fine, because we're going to dab on top of them. Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave this sit for just a minute. I am going to do some more to it, but I'm going to leave this sit for just a minute while I go get the music turned back on. better. So again, take your time with this. You don't have to paint as quick as I do. Our next step, though, we do want that brown to still be a little bit wet. So I'm not going to let it fully dry. And you don't even have to clean off your brush, that little brush. But with that little brush, we are going to take very, very small amounts of black. And I mean very small amounts. So whenever you pick up a little black, just make sure you wipe it off. And we are going to start blending in some of the darker parts. So very lightly, with just a little bit of black, let's start brushing some in so it gives us some darker spots. You may have to pick up a little bit more brown on your small brush and just kind of referencing the photo of where it's got some darker spots. And that's what's going to give some texture to the tree. We're going to do something similar with some white afterwards. Some white and little bits of brown to get some highlighted areas. But for now, we're just sticking with some brown and a little tiny bit of black. I am going to put some in these branches, but I'm not too worried about them because, as you can see, we will be putting the green on top. Okay, we got some dark spots in there. Let me give my brush a little wipe just to get the black off of it. Since I wiped it off, I am going to pick up more brown, and then same with the white. Pick up a pinprick and wipe it off. And we just lightly start putting some of that in, and that'll give us those lighter brown spots. Really just builds up that texture. And we'll get a little bit in these branches. Even though they're going to be covered, we just, throw some in there because we can still kind of see them, right? There we go. We now have a tree. So now's a good time for another little drying break. So another couple of minutes. And again, before we come back, I will let people know when to pause if they are needing more time. So let's let that bad boy dry. Okay, that's been a couple of minutes, so if you need more time with your tree, again, just hit the pause button. There is no rush. You guys paint at your pace. So next up, we need to make some green. Good old verte. So let me just move that to the side for a minute. So I'm going to make 2 shades of green, one lighter, one darker. So let's start with 2 little piles of yellow. Now into one of these piles we're going to add un petit peu de bleu, so just a little bit of blue. We're going to stir it up. And then we're going to add in a little tiny bit of white. Maybe a smidge more. There we go. And that is going to be our light green. The other one, so the other pile of yellow, we're going to add in more blue than we did the first time, and a tiny little pinprick of black. And this will make a really dark green. Light green, we got a dark green. Before we start painting with them, clean out your brush and dry it off. So we are going to be using that medium brush, and we're going to do some dabbing. So it's real simple. We're going to start with our light green. We're going to do a bunch of dabbing. Then we're going to take some of our dark green, do some more dabbing. Then we're going to take a tiny little bit of white and do some more dabbing. So when I say dabbing, all I mean is we are going to push our paintbrush onto our canvas and then take it off. Push, take it off. That's it. So let's get some light green on there. And let's start dabbing. We go dabby dab dab. So I'm not stabbing through my canvas, but I'm not being super light with it either. And we'll get some of this light green kind of all over where our tree is. This is the part that's fun. That really makes it, you know, every tree's a little different. Oh, a little bit of my brown was still wet. That's okay. Just get a bunch of this on. And now I'm going to start grabbing some of that dark green and keep doing some dabbing. And because our light green is still a little bit wet, this is going to cause some more shades of green to show up. And that's what we want. We want lots of shades of green. Some dark spots, some light spots. A whole bunch of them. And then once again, while this is still wet, with that same brush, pick up some white, but make sure to wipe it on the edge of your plate. And let's dab in some more, which will cause even more light spots to show up. Nice, simple, happy little tree. Ba-da-da-da. Happy thoughts, happy tree. Now you can always go back with more of your dark green, more of your light green, and just keep dabbing until you're happy with it. One key thing, I try not to dab in the same spot too many times with this final color, because I don't want it all to just be the same color. So this final color with a little bit of white, I try and just a couple of dabs and then move on. A couple of dabs and then move on. And that'll cause the painting to have these more distinct light spots. But again, everybody's going to be a little bit different, and that's okay. As you can see, I painted that one and I painted this one, and they're both a little different. There is nothing wrong with that. But whenever you are finished with your good old dabby dabs, you then have to go ahead and do the most important part of any painting, which would be sign it. Gotta go ahead and sign it. Oh, you can also make sure to carry your dabs over the edges of the canvas. I know I didn't paint my edges. I told you I'm terrible for that. But you can also carry those dabs over the edges of your canvas, all right? Anyway, thank you very much to the City of Charlottetown for getting me to do another event for you, doing the kits, and all of that stuff. So, if anybody wants to see any more of the videos that we have done in the past or anything like that, give us a follow on Facebook. It is eastcoastartparty.com. That's the website. It's just East Coast Art Party. Sorry, that's Facebook. The website is eastcoastartparty.com, where we have all of our in-person events, information on ordering supplies, on booking private events, on our PD Day kids camps. Those are wonderful. We have PD Day kids camps. We also have week-long camps in the summers or, various breaks. So go check all of that out. We've always got something on the go. And yeah, we love to paint. So hope you guys had a lovely time. Enjoy.